When you look at this study, it's something you've conducted over a course of many years. What stood out to you?
The shocking lack of trust in social media. You know, in the United States at 30%, in the UK, France, and Germany in the low 20s. What's happened is people have now processed the epidemic of fake news and also the Cambridge Analytica story, which means that their data was being used for elections. That's just not okay.
87 million people had their information breached. How does a brand even begin to build public trust after that?
I think that brands have got to work with the platforms. The consumer loves social media. It helps them communicate with friends. It is their primary source of information in many cases about news. And on top of that, it's how they learn about brands they love. At the same time, it's a cry from the heart to try to get the social media to fix itself. And brands are key to that.
How exactly has that all played into the way that people distrust these social media platforms?
Well, the new thing is that people want brands to intervene. They expect that, you know, a brand like Head & Shoulders or whatever is going to stand up to social media. No individual is willing to give up his or her affiliation with Facebook or Instagram, but they really want brands to fix the problem. A brand's responsibility today is, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Where am I doing it? So, for example, if I'm going to be buying third-party data from another company, do I disclose to my consumers that that's how I found them? Probably so.
We know Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg has testified before Capitol Hill. What else needs to be done? Was that enough?
It's not enough. It's good to testify. It's even better to act. And social platforms have got to help make sure that quality information is getting to the public. Brands are the new democracy. It's interesting that arguably my wallet is a better way to determine the fate of this country than voting. 2/3 of people say, I expect CEOs to act. Don't wait for government. Government's paralyzed.
When you look at a platform like Facebook and you look at their overall bottom line, stocks haven't really dropped. Nope. There are not people completely walking away from Facebook and removing the app. So if it doesn't really affect a company's bottom line, why would they act and do anything?
Ultimately, Facebook relies on the goodwill of brands, and brands rely on the goodwill of the consumer. And the consumer actually has the power now and is demanding that brands stand up and speak for them and make sure that their data is secure and that they're getting good information.
Why are you so confident when you say that consumers have the power now?
Because the consumer has the ability to buy a brand or boycott a brand. They've told us, 2/3 of them, I will boycott a brand that doesn't stand up for me on issues that I care about. Business has to improve society, not just the bottom line.
In this survey that you conducted, nearly 62% said that they actually want government to play a role in regulating social media. What would that look like? Do you see that happening?
Look, the United States may be the last one to do regulation, but already in Europe you have this GDPR, which is a very strict control over an individual's data. And companies have to comply with this, globally actually. So what we're finding is that Europe is actually leading this move towards regulation. And what could be, well, a mandatory check on every option of do I or don't I approve of use of my personal data.
Are there countries that maybe trust social media more than others?
Yes. The developed countries, UK, US, etc., very low. Very high trust in social media in China, in India, in part because they have controlled government media in China, for instance. And so social arguably becomes a more open channel.
What impact do you think it'll have when it comes to politics?
The quality of the material is going to have to be more positive than negative. It's not going to be as much a smear campaign as it is going to be, here are the attributes of the candidate. What we need to have is complete understanding of who's behind the ads so that someone can understand the source and therefore be able to judge the validity of the information.
You know, for years now, President Trump has sort of coined this phrase about fake news and putting attention on what he determined would be or wouldn't be fake news. Do you think that has played into the public's mindset of what they regard as fake news? And has that helped to erode confidence in social media?
You know that there are only 55% of Americans no longer read or watch mainstream media. They rely on social media for their information. So that puts a special responsibility on social for truth and accuracy. Fake news is shared 6 times more often than good news or proper news. And so this is contaminating our system of governance, because 2/3 of people tell us, I can no longer make a decision about which public official to vote for because I don't know enough. Now, it's their own responsibility to get informed. On the other hand, it benefits society when we have informed voters.